Got yourself a little help there, Sheriff.
Now I remember you. You're a computer virus, traveling from machine to machine, overriding the core program.
Have infection, we'll travel. Let's see if we can't tip the balance a little here.
It was March of 1993 that the Red Dwarf posse first moseyed into Laredo. And we come back now, 11 years later, and it hasn't really changed that much. Of course, in the background, we've got some rather serious gun action going off over there. And you can also just hear the Brands Hatch motor racing circuit, which isn't terribly Western, but it's all nice background. It is an extraordinary place, Laredo, though. I mean, it really, the detail of it is amazing. Even the smoke is real. It comes from real fires in real pot-bellied stoves. But this building wasn't here when we were here before. This is the new hotel building. I think we should go inside and meet the dudes who put this place on the map. Morning, Cole. Nice to see you. Morning, Hoss. How you doing? Right.
Very well.
This is great to come back here after all this time.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's developed a bit.
Just right. This wasn't here at all when you came last time.
This is all very posh.
That's
here,
right. This town's been set up almost 30 years now. That's right.
So even when we came, it was well established. I mean, it looked like it was.
It's been over 20 years in the building then. That's right.
And how many? Because there's like a club that people who come here regularly are in a club.
Well, we come here every fortnight, once a fortnight, and we actually come and live in the town.
So people live in the buildings here?
That's right. But perhaps not so much when you came before, but then obviously things have developed since then. So most people sleep in their buildings. They've got their own building, got their own sleeping room. Right. I sleep upstairs in the hotel, which I can show you later. Yeah.
And what about you, Hoss? You built a house here, have you?
Yeah, right. We've built a print shop. We've got Victorian presses.
Oh, so it's actually got presses inside it?
It has, yeah, but it's in the process of being built, so it's not all laid out yet, but eventually in about 2 years' time it should be finished.
Did you use like hand saws and nice wooden joints?
No. No, we are allowed to use power tools if we're up here on an odd club weekend. So yeah, I mean, if we have visitors coming up, then yeah, we'll swap over to the hand tools and make it look like we're building it by traditional methods.
Could take quite a long time using the old...
Yeah, it's taking a long time as it is, so using the old methods, it probably doubled the length of time.
Now, I remember when we did Red Dwarf here, there was a lot of people who came along and in full costume. It was a really exciting day for us.
The Red Dwarf was one of the first major things that actually got shown quite a few times on the television, and from that we've actually got other work.
Right.
In fact, just 2 weeks ago, some of your colleagues came and filmed.
I was filming there myself just the other day for one of my programmes. And of course, this is many years later from when Dwarf were there. But it's, you know, the days that Red Dwarf were filming at Laredo Ranch have gone down in kind of legend.
And people always talk, if they talk about Laredo, everybody remembers the Red Dwarf that was done here.
Right. And then once we'd finished filming here, we then recreated the bar scene in the studio.
That's right. I came and I remember they asked me to grow a beard to look like a rough cowboy. Came to the studio and they made me shave it all off to play the piano.
You should not have done that, Jimmy.
So have you had other kind of TV and film productions here since we were here?
Last year, Johnny Depp come up and done some filming.
And that was probably a pretty big production then?
They was here for 3 days and they built 2 giant blue screens to superimpose a desert, so it looked like the town was in the middle of a desert.
Right. Yeah, because there's not a lot of desert in Kent, generally speaking, is there, I suppose?
Very little.
Now, it sounds like there's a bit of realistic background sound going on. There's some shooting going on in the woods.
Obviously, we do run around the woods having shootouts with one another. They send a gang into the woods and then somebody else goes out to find them.
Right.
And so when they find them, they call a name and shoot them and they're supposed to die.
Let's see if your shooting's as fancy as your dancing.
This is the actual scene of one of the most remarkable sequences ever done on Red Dwarf. It was a one take. This is where Kryten ran. Underneath here, there was a big sign over here that had to be released and bang on my head. And it did it in one go. Never, never before in the history, or since in the history of Red Dwarf, have we ever managed to do something that weird in one take. It was extraordinary. We didn't use this, did we, as the saloon at the time?
No, you filmed in the general store
Yeah.
to do the bar scenes, but
Yeah.
this is one of the original buildings.
Right. And who have we got here? Ah, the gunsmith.
The gunsmith,
Very important.
That was here.
That was here. I do remember that one,
I'm
yeah.
not sure about the top, might not have been built.
Right.
The chap who owns it has built a room upstairs so he
Right.
can do his cooking and a bedroom
Right.
up there.
Oh, right.
This was a two-storey building, and obviously it was quite an old building. And when we had the hurricane a few years ago,
Got a bit of damage, did you?
it actually moved over a foot. So they took it down and they've been
They've
rebuilding
rebuilt
this
it.
for the last 2 years.
Right. We've got the registry office here. Now, has anybody actually ever got married in Laredo? Has that ever happened?
Yes, one of our members got married had his reception in the hotel.
Oh, right.
But it was before the decor was put in there.
Right, so it was-
but it was still a good do.
Oh, I bet, yeah. That was fun. And this is, I'm very pleased to see, this is looking very smart, the sheriff's office.
Yeah, it's
You
had
kept
a
that up.
nice new lick of paint.
It has, isn't it?
Why is he a sheriff in some old western?
Oh, this is fantastic. Wow. It's always such a shock because, like in a movie set, you'd go through a door like that and you'd be in the car park. You know, there wouldn't be anything, but this is incredibly realistic inside, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
wonderful.
Dave, the chap who owns this, he's very precise in everything. Everything's got to be right, which is very good. And brought lots of people in here, and they're always astonished of how
Yeah.
nice it is.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The desk is lovely, isn't it? Very good. And you've got the cells over here, which
Yeah,
is
and the
just
cell does
spot
lock
on.
up. It does actually lock up, and
does it?
we can actually lock you inside.
Now, it was along here that the horses were tied when we first came into the town, and these horses they were properly trained stunt horses. They were really amazing horses, not that big. And Danny and I had both ridden horses before, so we kind of knew that horses were, rideable, but you needed to treat them with respect. Chris had never sat on a horse before in his life, and it didn't have a steering wheel or a handbrake, so he was a little bit nervous. And Craig had also never sat on a horse. I think he'd been on a donkey on the beach. That was about as close as he got. But Craig has no fear, which is rather unfortunate for the rest of us, because then he wondered how you made a horse run. And he discovered that if you whack it on the back with a stick, it'll run. Because he didn't know how to ride it. So suddenly there was all four of us charging off up here. Two of the riders having no idea what to do. Chris in particular, I do remember that face to this day.
You can't frighten me. I'm a coward. I'm always scared.
Mister!
The Undertakers. Now I'm presuming, although you've had a marriage here, I'm presuming nobody's died in the town.
In fact, someone has died in the town.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
There used to be the stables used to be here.
Right.
And there was an old gentleman, a very nice chap called Andy. He came up here to work. He was retired. And he had a set plan. He always went home at a certain time. And JT, down in the house, said, well, Andy's not gone home as yet. So they left it for a little bit longer. They came up and he was sitting in his building against his post, and they thought he was asleep.
Right.
But obviously he passed away.
Oh, dear.
And his son kindly let us scatter his ashes around the town. So
Oh, that's great.
He's still here with us.
He's still here in spirit.
That's right.
Love the blacksmith, that's very
the
nice.
Blacksmith actually belongs to JT.
Right.
And that's his building up there. He
Right.
sleeps up there on occasions.
Oh, great. And is that does the stuff work? He's got a little furnace there and all
Yeah,
that stuff?
everything's functional.
Right.
It works.
Oh, it is an extraordinary place. It really is. Amazing. This building along here was where we faked up the saloon. So it's not actually the saloon now, it's now the general store. But this was the actual saloon bar, and this was the position where Kryten was when all the gunshots hit him. And the explosions, they always say, these explosions, they'll go off on your shirt and they won't really hurt, but they'll be quite loud. They hurt. And then the doves. This is where the doves happened. These beautifully trained doves always work with animals and children whenever you get the chance. And these two doves, the whole point was you'd go like that, let go of them, and they'd fly away. Well, these two doves did this special thing that birds don't often do when you let go of them in the air. They just went down the ground. They didn't fly at all. So I was meant to just gently let them go, and in the end, I actually had to go and throw them up in the air as far as I could. Then they did actually do some flapping.